Ah. Mm, mm, mm. Life is a trip to be enjoyed, and the TrustBox Live number 12 is on roll. Yesterday, I was in a conversation with a guy from Switzerland, and he was expressing his frustration with not having a complete life, which I wanted to touch upon. He expressed that he needed help to master more areas of his life and what he called create a complete life. There seems to be a direct correlation from creating the future, a desired future, and feeling good. I was talking with Katja the other day and Darko, and she said something that struck me as lightning. Sometimes life gives you what you don't want, and that want is one thing, but what happens is another thing. Like, life is unfolding the way that it is, and whether we want it in that moment or not, apparently wisdom has its own plan, kind of. So going back to that guy I was Skyping with yesterday, and his idea of creating a complete life, that idea is just an idea, it's just a... Misunderstand me correctly, don't get me wrong. I'm not telling anyone to do this or that, or myself to do this and that. I'm just pointing out something fascinating. It's fascinating that I'm on a journey of constantly improving my life, and there is really no correlation between my external lifestyle and how I feel. I like your beard, both of you.
There was a woman who asked me, who was in town, in city. She lives in Berlin normally, and I live in the city of Cologne. And she's here for the weekend, and she asked me, hey, what are you doing? I want to make out. And we texted a little bit, and I asked her if she could meet me half the way, because I'm very in the south of Cologne and she was very north, so it would have taken me nearly an hour or 45 minutes to get there. And while we were writing this and while I was getting dressed again, she just kicked me out. She just deleted me from Tinder. After she kicked me out, I was so in my head, and I was so full of despair. And yeah, this went on for 10 minutes. First, I just wanted to go to bed, or I don't know, watch the football replay or anything, and I just couldn't get it out of my head. It just didn't go away. And then after 10 minutes or so, it just occurred to me that, well, that's totally fine what happened there right now. Do you see that? That's great what happened to you. It was a great lesson for you. It was something where you can learn from. Where you can learn from that, even though it didn't work out that way, you're totally fine. And yeah, I don't know, something fell away from me, and I started smiling by thinking about that. And yeah, it was great experience, and it never happened to me so quickly, so in despair, and then bam, 10 minutes later it was all fine.
That's what happens. So
that's amazing.
A cool metaphor that I like to use is like thoughts are like cars on a highway, and then when diving into and exploring this understanding, it's like we get a new car on the road that says like it's called like you're feeling or thinking or something like that, like whatever kind of like uh, wording you like to use on it, and then that just pops up at random times and kind of sends us back. Uh, it could be like really fast like that.
You know, I've been experiencing more of lately is, you know, the small changes of, you know, different types of state, you know, different types of feeling, different types of state of mind, you know, and being really aware of gliding in and out of them, but totally being fine with it, though, you know.
Yeah, that's so cool. Like there's this under the radar, there's this trust, this fineness or whatever like you're talking about. It's just even though being completely out of it, there is this sense in the back of I call it in the back of my mind or in the back of my head. It almost feels like that. But there's this like this knowing that we will be guided back to okayness, just how nature works. It's a self-healing process, and it works now and now and now and now and now and now. That in itself, that knowing, that trust, guided me back faster than lightning. It's crazy how I hit the ground running. It's crazy. Like it to me. It's just now I'm like, it's so crazy that it's almost like it's also not crazy at all. But it's like almost like as relevant as your experience this morning or the story you told. You know.
Sometimes we experience it as more important, or it's you know, the sense of I is very strong in the equation or something, you know, and then suddenly you just realize that you aren't in the equation. Thought is in the equation. You just mistakenly thought that you were there. You replace yourself with thought in the equation, and when you don't take account of the principle of thought in your experience, you're gonna get frustrated, and you know, things won't make sense because
on that,
that's not where it's coming from.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but that just reminded me, like, I had a big realization in the park when I was, like, about to fucking climb the statue, you know?
I remember that.
It was a reality check on my pride and me and my ego, whatever you want to call it. Just like this reality check, yeah. Just, like, get your feet back on the ground, learn, and I was kind of, like, a really... It felt like a learning process. It felt like I was going through a boot camp. And
it's
then
the same because I was standing right there, right next to you, looking at the monolith, and you were having that experience.
Yeah.
Right next to me. Me not knowing about it at all. Totally obnixious, you know, didn't know anything. How cool is that?
Yeah. That proves that we all have our own experience of this. It's not the fucking circumstance. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up. Sometimes, and it is, when understanding this, it's easier to just caught. What's the opposite of getting caught up? Like falling back.
And what I also find very helpful is that you realize that you're not in it. You know, you are not in it, but you see it that you're not in it. Before you just think reality is happening, and now you know it's not reality, but I believe it is. But it's okay, and I know that it can't be possibly true.
You can see that you are in fact the creator of your experience right now, while experiencing it as real, and it being real as well, since you're experiencing it. This is all there ever is right now. There is nothing else than right now, you know.
Nice. Well, this was a great talk. Great connecting with you guys again, and
Yeah, likewise.